Let me ask you something honestly. How many of you promised yourself in 2025, next year I will change? And how many of you are still carrying the same habits, the same fear, the same excuses? You see, the calendar changed, but you did not. And that is not only because you are weak, it is because no one taught you how to rebuild, only how to survive. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, and opportunities. They fail because they keep waiting for the right mood, waiting for the confidence, waiting for approval, waiting for the perfect moment when everything magically aligns. And the truth is that movement never arrives. Life does not send a notification saying, "No, now you are ready." It simply keeps moving while we stand still, convincing ourselves that tomorrow will be better. We often believe that once things settle down, once responsibility reduce, once fear disappear, then we will begin. But life does not come lighter because you go stronger. You grow stronger by moving despite the weight. The perfect time is a confusing illusions we use to protect ourselves from discomfort. It feels safer to delay than to try and fail. But every delay has a hidden cost. It slowly teaches your mind that your dreams are optional. When you wait too long, something dramatically happens. You start normalizing dissatisfactions. You wake up every day feeling slightly unhappy, slightly tired, slightly disconnected. And you tell yourself that is normal. But deep inside, you know it is not. You know you were meant for more peace, more clarity, more purpose. Most of the mind loves comfort zones even if they are painful. At least they are similar. Stepping into change feels uncertain, and uncertainty scares us more than unhappiness. So we keep waiting for the courage, not realize this courage is not something you find, it is something you build by taking actions. Confidence does not come before actions, it comes because of actions. Think about how many times you told yourselves, "I will start from Monday," or then after this month, next year's will be different. Year passes, calendar changed, but habit remain the same. And slowly, regret replace hope. Not regret for what you did wrong, but regret for what you never ever tried. Waiting also create comparisons. When you stay stuck, you start watching others move ahead. Their growth becomes a reminder of your delay. And instead of feeling inspired, you feel discouraged. You forget that you were once uncertain too. They didn't wait for fear to disappear. They moved with fear in their hands. The uncomfortable truth is this: clarity comes after actions, not before it. You does not suddenly wake up knowing exactly what to do with your life. You discover it by doing something imperfectly. You adjust as you go. You learn while walking. Standing still never teach you anything. Every time you take a small step, your brain rewires itself. It learns that change is survival, that effort does not kill you, the process is possible. But when you keep postponing, your brain learns the opposite. The avoidance is safety. And once avoidance become a habit, even small actions feels overwhelming. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 does not require a dramatical transformation. It requires a decision, quite honest decisions, that you will no longer wait for ideal conditions. You will start where you are with what you have as you are. Even if you feel scared, even if you feel unprepared, even if you feel tired, there is something deeply powerful about beginning before you feel ready. It sends a message to your mind that you are now in control, not your emotions. That discipline can lead when motivations is absence. And that message changes everything. Life rewards movement, not intentions. The world does not respond to the plan written in notebooks. It responds to the action taken in reality. And the moment you stop waiting, something shifts. Energy flows for efforts. Opportunities appears when you move, not when you hesitate. One day you will look back and realize that the moment you stopped waiting was the moment your life quietly began to change. Not loudly, not dramatically, not steady, peaceful, and honestly. And you will understand that the perfect time will never in the future. It was always the moment you decided to begin. Most people hold on to their past not because it was good, but because it is familiar. The mind prefers a known pain over an unknown possibility. And that is why letting go of who you were last year feels so uncomfortable. It feels like betrayal, as if changing means you are denying your own story. But growth is not disloyalty, growth is honesty. We often confuse identify with habits. We say this is just how I am, when in reality it is just what we have practically repeatedly. You were not born with procrastinations, self doubt, fear of speaking up, or the habit of settling less. These were learned patterns, and anything that is learned can be unlearned. But first, you must be willing to detach from the version of yourself that carries them. Holding on to your old self feels safe because it protects you from expectations. If you remain the same, no one expects more from you, including yourself. But the cost of that safety is silent regret. Every time you repeat an old pattern, you have outgrown something inside you feels heavy. That heaviness is not confusions, it is your inner intelligence telling you that you no longer belong there. Detaching does not mean hating who you were. It means thanking that versions of yourself for surviving with the tools it had. The versions help you cope, help you endure, help you get through moments when you did not know better. But survival is not the same as growth. What saves you once more now be limited to. Many people stay stuck because they keep rehearsing their old story. They introduce themselves internally with labels. I am a bad in inconsistency. I am not confidence. I always mess things up. Repeated these negative narratives keeps your emotional tired to an outdated identity. And the minds work very hard to stay consistent with the story you tell it. The problem is not that you can't change. The problem is that you keep reminding yourself of who you used to be, and every reminder pulls you backwards. When you detach, you stop defending old behaviors. You stop explaining why you are the why you are. You simply accept that you are becoming someone new. Letting go of your old self can also feel lonely because some people around you are attached to that versions. They feel comfortable with the you didn't change them, did not grow, didn't outgrow the room. When you change, they feel unsettled and something that will try to pull you back, not out of haters but out of familiarities. This is where inner strength is tested because detachment required courage. Courage to disappoint others. Courage to confuse people who killed the old you. Courage to sit with the discomforts of becoming unfamiliar even to yourself. But remember this. You are not responsible for staying small to make other comfortable. Your old self had reasons. Your new self has responsibilities. responsibility of your future peace, responsibility of your potentials, responsibility to the life that is waiting for you on the other side of this change. And that responsibility is more important than staying loyal to a version of yourself that no longer fits. Detaching also means forgiving yourself. You can't rebuild while carrying guilt for yesterday. Guilt keeps you anchored to the past. Forgiveness loses that grip. You did the best you could with the awareness you had. Now you know more, and knowing more invite you to do better. As you step into 2026, understand this deeply. You are allowed to change without explanation. You are allowed to want more without apology. You are allowed to redefine yourself even if no one understands the new directions yet. Grow often happens quietly because it becomes visible. When you detach from who you were, you create space. Space for new habits, space for new confidence, space for a calm mind, space for a stronger identity that is built consistently, not accidentally. And in that space, rebuilding becomes possible. One day, you will look back at the version of yourself you were holding on to and realize it was not your truth. It was just a chapter. Important, yes, but not the whole book. And the moment you let that chapter end, you gave yourself permissions to write a far better one. The people around you shape you more than you realize. Not through what they say, but through what they normalize. Slowly, silently, their habits become your habits. Their reminder, their mindset become your mindset. And their limits start feeling like your limits. This is why growth often feels so difficult because you are trying to change while remaining surrounded by what keep you the same. Many people believes that loyalty means staying connected no matter the cost. But loyalty without wisdom becomes self-sabotage. You can love people and still recognize that their presence is draining your energy, clarity, and ambitions. Not everyone who has access to your life deserve influence over your future. When you begin to rebuild yourself, your environment become very loud. Some people will discourage you openly, others will do it something through jokes, doubts, or passive negativity. They may not intend harm. Often they are simply uncomfortable watching you break patterns they never had the courage to question. Energy is contagious. Spend time with people who complain consistently, and your mind slowly learns to see problem before possibilities. Stay around those who are com- uh, complaints and often begins to feel unnecessary. That is not about judging others, it is about understanding impact. The mind absorb what it is exposed to. One of the hardest realizations in life is this: some real relationships are not bad, they are just expired. They serve a purpose once. Com- Comparisonships, sport, familiarity. But as you evolve, the relationships start feeling your growth and start feeding your stagnations. Holding out of history alone is emotional attachment, not wisdom. Auditing your inner circle does not mean cutting everyone off dramatically. It's mean observing how you feel after interactions. Do you feel inspired or exhausted? Clear or confused? Motivated or drained? Your emotional are honest indicators. They reveal whether a connection is nourishing you or slowly emptying you. Sometimes the drain is not emotional but mental. Being around people who continuously doubt, fear change, or radical ambitions train your mind to shrink into own dreams. You start editing yourself before every try. You stop sharing ideas stop living fully, and eventually you stop becoming. There is also the change of guilt. You may feel selfish for wanting distance. You may worry about being judged, misunderstood, or labeled as arrogance. But growth often requires choosing long term peace over short term control. You are not obligated to remain accessible to everyone simple because you once were. As you grow, your standards change, not just for life, but for conversation, values, and energies. You start craving deep insights of drama, encouragement instead of criticism, growth inspired of gossip. And this shifts naturally, reduce your circle. This is not loss, this is alignment. Another uncomfortable truth is that some people believe benefits from the old version of you. They benefit from your silence, your overgiving, your lack of boundaries. When you begin to rebuild yourself, they may resist. Not because you are wrong, but because the dynamic is changing, and change threatens comforts. This phase can feel lonely, but loneliness during growth is temporary. Staying surrounded by the wrong people create a deeper, more permanent loneliness. The loneliness of being unseen, unspotted, and unfulfillment. Choose the loneliness that leads to expansions, not the ones that lead to regret. Auditing your inner circle also include how to engage digitally. The content you consume, the voice you listen to, the messages you reply in your minds, they all count as company. If you consistently feed your mind negativity, comparison on unrealistic standards, rebuilding becomes harder. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 required courage to protect your energy, not aggressively, not angrily, but intentionally with calm clarity. You didn't need to announce your boundaries, you just need to live them. Over time, something beautifully happens when you create space. The right people appear. People who speak positively, who respect your growth, who challenge you kindly. That doesn't drain you, they expand you. And being around them feels lighter, not heavier. One day you will realize that changing your circle did not make you lonely. It made you focused. It didn't make you cold, it made you selective. And most importantly, it gave you the environment you knew self needs to breathe, grow, and finally become real. Most people wait to feel motivated before they begin. They tell themselves, when I feel inspired, I will work hard. When I feel confidence, I will be consistent. But motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. They rise and fall with sleep, mood, praise, failure, and circumstances. If your progress depends on how you feel, your growth will always be fragile. Discipline, on the other hand, does not negotiate with emotions. It does not ask whether you are tired, bored, doubtful, or afraid. It simply asks one question: what needs to be done today? And then it does it quietly, repeatedly, without drama. This is why discipline changes lives while motivations only exist them temporarily. Motivations feels powerful in the beginning. It gives you energy, excitement, and big promises, but it fades the moment discomfort appears, the moment results are slow, the moment efforts is required without immediate rewards. And that is exactly when most people stop, not because they can't continue, but because motivation left them alone. Discipline stay when motivations disappear. It carries you through day when nothing feels required. It helps you act every when the mind is full of resistance, and over time it creates something far more reliable than excitement. Self-respect. Every time you do what you said you would be, even when you don't feel like it. You build trust with yourself. Self trust is the foundations of confidence, not talent, not praise, not success. Confidence grows when your actions match your words. Discipline aligns them. Motivations often break them alignment by making you dependent on feeling before acting. Many people misunderstand discipline. They think it means being hard, rigid, or joyless. But real discipline is not per- punishment. It is a self care in its most honest form. It is choosing long term peace over short term comfort. It is protecting your future self from regret. Discipline does not require massive efforts, it requires consistency in small things. Waking up when you said you would, showing up even when progress feels invisible, completing tasks without waiting for apologies. These small acts compound silently, and one day you realize you have become a different person, not through intensity but through commitment. When you rely on motivations, you make your life conditional. I will try if I feel good. When you rebuild your discipline, you make your growth unconditional. You act regardless of mood, and this create emotional stability. You are no longer controlled by fluctuations in energy or emotions. Discipline also simplifies life. When decisions are already made, mental noise reduces. You does not waste energy debating whether to act. You have already decided. This clarity frees the mind and reduce stress. Ar- Ironically, discipline creates more freedom than motivations ever could. As you rebuild yourself, discipline becomes your anchor, keeps you grounded when emotional fluctuates. It reminds you that feelings are temporary, but habits are permanent, and it allows you to move forward steadily without burning out. Discipline is also deeply empowering. It shifts your identity from someone who hopes to someone who executes, from someone who dreams to someone who builds, from someone who waits to someone who moves. This shift changes you how you see yourself and how other experience you over time. Discipline creates momentum and momentum creates motivations other way around. When you see yourself making progress, even slowly motivations returns naturally. But now it sports discipline instead of leading it. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 will not be about sudden of inspirations. It will be about daily choice made without negotiations. Quiet victories no one acknowledged, efforts no one sees, and consistency that eventually become your identity. One day you will realize that discipline did not limit your life, it expanded it. It gave you control over your time, your energy, and your directions. And in that realizations, you will understand that motivations may start the journey, but discipline is what carries you all the way forward. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people think silence means weakness, avoidance, and superstition. They assume that if you don't speak, you are afraid. But truth silence is not the absence of word. It is the presence of awareness. It is a conscious pause when understanding grows before reactions take over. Most of the damage in our life does not come from what happens to us, but from how quietly we react to it. We speak when we are hurt, respond when we are energy, explain when we feel misunderstood, and defend when our ego feels threatened. In those moments, word escape before wisdom arrives. Silence creates the space when wisdom can enter. When you learn the power of silence, you stop giving immediate access to your emotions. You stop allowing others to control your inner strength, state with their behavior. Silence breaks this cycle. It teaches you to observe before you absorb. And observations change everything. Silence does not mean you never speak. It means you choose when to speak. It means your words are no longer driven by impulse but by clarity. When you pause, emotions settle. The mind gains perceptive. When felt urgent often reveals itself as unimportant. Many conflicts spell because other sides are trying to be heard, not understood. Silence interrupts this escalations. It disarms tensions. It gives you time to listen not just for others but to yourself. And often you realize that not even every situation deserves a response. Silence is especially powerful in emotional situations. When someone provoke you, your silence force them to confront their own behavior. Reacting gives that control. Silence take it back. It shifts power inward. Internally, silence allow your thoughts to settle. In a noisy mind, trust is hard to hear. Constant stimulations, options, and mental chatter drown out intuitions. Silence creates stillness, and stillness reveals directions. In silence, you become aware of patterns, pattern in your thinking, your reactions, your fear. Awareness is the first step to change. Without silence, you remain trapped in automatic behavior. Silence also strengthens your emotional intelligence. It teaches restraints, it teaches patience, and it teaches you that peace is not found in winning argument but in perceiving inner calm. As you rebuild yourself, silence becomes a tool of self-respect. You no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. You no longer argue to prove your worth. Your calm presence speaks louder than words. Silence helps you detach from ego driven reactions. Ego wants to be right, wisdom wants peace. Silence gives wisdom the upper hand. It also depends relationship. When you listen more than you speak, people feel seen. When you respond thoughtfully instead of reactively, trust grows. Silence makes your word more meaningful. When you do choose to speak in a world addicted to noise, silence is a form of strength. It shows you are not desperate for violations or attentions, you are grounded. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 required mastering in this inner quiet because without silence, grow because chaotic, with silence, grow become intentional. One day, you will realize that silence didn't make you invisible. It made you powerful. It gave you control over your emotions, clarity in your decisions, and peace in your presence. And that is a power very few people even learn to use. Many people believe that the solutions of their pain is success. They think that is when stay busy enough, achieve enough, on enough and prove enough, and the pain will disappear. So they hustle hard, push long, and exhaust themselves, hoping that productivity will heal when they never addressed. But unhealed wounds do not disappear through achievements, they simply hide behind it. Healing is not weakness, it is purpose, perceptions. When you ignore your inner wound and rush into growth, those wounds does not vanish. They quietly shape your behavior. They show up as burnout, anger, insecurity, people pleasing overwork, and constant self-doubt. You may look successful on the outside, but inside you remain restless. Many people are not lazy. They are tried in a deeper way, tired from carrying unresolved pain, tired from pretending them are fine, tired from fractions without feeling bored. Hustling on the top to this exhausted only deepens the fractures. Unhealed pain makes you chase violation instead of purpose. You work not because you love, but you do because you want to feel worthy. You say yes when you should say no. You overthink and restate you, and slowly success become another form of self-abandonment. Healing require honesty, honest consistently with yourself about what hurts you, what disappoints you, and what you never allow yourselves to feel. Many people avoid healing because it required stillness, and stillness begin emotions to the surface. But avoiding those emotions does not make them go away. It gives them control. When you don't heal, you repeat patterns. You attach the same situations, the same relationship, the same struggles, just and in different form. Healing breaks these cycles. It helps you respond instead of react, choose instead of repeat. Healing also restore clarity when pain is unsolved. Your decisions are driven by fear, fear of abandonment, fail, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. Thank you.